Okay, hello, my name is Hanna Schleihauf, and you see I really want to hammer my name into your heads because I'm already mentioning it a third time, standing here. I welcome you to my talk, Do Chimpanzees Rationally Revise Their Beliefs in Social Situations? And this was work with amazing co-authors, and I of course present this study also in their name. As you've heard several times during this conference, at least since Aristotle, rational reasoning has been described unique to humans. And what do I mean with rational here? A rational agent forms beliefs based on evidence, monitors and reflects on the evidential basis of their beliefs, and updates their belief by weighing the evidence for the prior belief against the evidence for an alternative belief. And as Cahal, O'Madigan, and I already mentioned in previous talks, there is some recent evidence that suggests that such rational capacities are not unique to humans, and that chimpanzees monitor the reasons for their beliefs, and that they rationally revise their beliefs in non-social contexts. But how does it look in social contexts? So in social contexts, the questions whether we should maintain or revise our beliefs often arises in response to disagreement. And again, Cahal presented his work on this yesterday. He ran a study that indicates that chimpanzees are not responsive to disagreement, so which suggests that they do not question their beliefs when they are confronted with disagreement with a partner. However, I think not all kinds of disagreements are the same. So imagine you being an expert in your field, have a disagreement on a topic, and the other person is not as knowledgeable as you are, then you're probably less likely to change your mind. However, if the topic is, the other person is an expert on the topic that you're disagreeing on, and you are not, you're probably more likely to change your belief. So to rationally revise my belief in such a situation of disagreement, I need to have some sense for what I know and what I don't know, what the other person knows and doesn't know, and I need to integrate both pieces of information. And today I'm going to present two studies that focus on these processes. So in the first study, I focus on belief formation. In particular, I studied whether chimpanzees consider the evidential basis of others' beliefs, similar to how they consider their own evidence when forming beliefs. And in the second study, we focus on belief revision, where we tested how chimpanzees integrate the evidential basis of their own beliefs and the evidential basis of the others' beliefs when deciding whether or not to change their mind. And you've already seen this place in the previous lecture by Amanda, that is Ngamba Island, a sanctuary in Uganda, where I collected all the data that you will see in these studies. There are in total like 53 chimpanzees, I think, at the moment, and pretty much a good half of it are solid participants in our studies. And they usually spend most of the time outside in the forest, but at night they come into sleeping facilities, which gives us the chance to keep a few individuals inside every morning and run our studies with them. And in this study, we had like 20 adult chimps who participated. So let's start with study one. Let's first have a look at what it means to rationally form a belief in a non-social context, and it's very simple. When a subject receives strong evidence, we expect them to form a strong belief, but if they don't get evidence, we don't expect them to form a strong belief, or at least, if at all, a very weak one. And now let's bring this into a social context. So in a social context, we say that it's rational that a subject forms a strong belief after having observed a partner who made a choice based on strong evidence, and that it's rational not to form such a strong belief, or at least only a very weak one, if you observe a partner who made a choice that was not based on any evidence. And here, some abstract visualization of how this looked like. So we tested in total 4 conditions, but I'm now showing you our 2 main conditions. So here we had a subject strong evidence condition, and we had 2 boxes. Food was hidden in one of these boxes, and then we flipped them over. The subject could see inside and make a choice. Subject no evidence, very simple as well. So subject couldn't see anything, didn't get any evidence, and made a choice. And now a little bit more interesting, the partner conditions. So in the partner strong evidence condition, we flipped the boxes over to the partner. The partner could see inside, indicate a choice but didn't get anything. And then it went to the subject, and the subject could make their final choice. And in the partner no evidence condition, you can imagine the partner simply indicated without having seen anything, and then it went to the subject. And also that you get a feeling of how the actual study setup looked like. I show you one condition here. So this is the partner strong evidence condition. So here I show the evidence to the partner, and this individual, the stick was not part of the study, but he got himself a stick, so it's just even clearer what he chooses. So he indicates a choice, sadly doesn't get anything. It goes to the subject, and the subject chooses, and in this case follows the evidence from the social evidence from the partner. And maybe one important additional component here, these boxes were in reality tweaked, so the partner always saw where the food was hidden. Reason for this was that A, we could control the choice of the partner, and the second was that we could keep the excitement of the partner similar across both conditions, because we first tried it without, and then we realized that there is a clear behavioral difference between conditions, so in this case, excitement was always the same. Okay, so coming to our results, I first show you the unsurprising evidence when we showed the evidence or not to the subject. And here you can see that if the subject didn't get any evidence, they did not choose the correct box very often, so it was exactly at chance level. But if they got some strong evidence, they followed this strong evidence a lot, and they chose the correct box at very high rates. And now more interestingly, that is the partner condition. So here you see the partner no evidence condition, similar to when the subject receives the evidence, they don't really follow this pointing gesture very much. But in the partner strong evidence condition, we find that they actually follow the evidence of the partner much more. And I think this is super interesting because it shows that the subjects really pay attention to whether the partner knows or does not know where the reward is hidden. So in the first study, we asked, do chimpanzees consider the evidential basis of others' beliefs similar how they consider their own evidence when forming beliefs? And I think our data suggests, yes, they do. So now let's come to the second study, where we focused on belief revision and asked, do they track the evidential for their own and the others' beliefs when considering whether or not to change their mind? And again, what do we define as rational belief revision here? So if a subject bases their beliefs not on any evidence, but then gets strong evidence from a partner, so they observe a partner who makes a decision based on strong evidence, then we would suggest they would change their mind. So importantly, the partner was always pointing at the contradicting option. However, when the subject has very strong evidence themselves and they observe a contradicting partner who has not any evidence for their belief, they should maintain their belief. And these were exactly the two predictions for our main conditions. So here you see in the subject no evidence, partner strong evidence on the top left. So it first goes to the subject, they don't get any evidence. Indicate a choice, don't get anything yet. Then it goes to the partner. The partners can peek into the boxes, indicate a choice as well. And it goes back to the subject and they make their final decision. And in the subject strong evidence condition, partner no evidence condition, subject can peek inside, indicate a choice, and then it goes to partner. Partner doesn't see anything, makes the contradicting choice, and then it goes back to the subject. You can see there's always this going back and forth. And importantly, I don't go to them in detail here, but we also went to additional control conditions where both subject and partner did not receive any evidence, or subject and partner both received strong evidence, so that we could rule out it's like only the partner or only the subject information that drives our results. And here I again show you the real version. So this is the subject no evidence, partner strong evidence condition. So the subject doesn't get any evidence, makes a choice. So now the partner has seen the evidence, is ready, indicates a choice, and it goes back to the subject. And here you can see he reaches over, so it changes his mind. And I also show you the opposite conditions. So now the subject has strong evidence. So first the subject can peek into the boxes. Makes a decision, then it goes over to the partner. Partner doesn't see anything. In reality they do, but... And the subject can make their final decision. Okay, coming to the results. So I will first focus only on our two main conditions. And in line with our predictions, the chimpanzees were more likely to revise their beliefs when they themselves did not have any evidence, but a disagreeing partner had strong evidence. And in contrast, they were more likely to maintain their belief when their own evidence was strong, but a partner did not receive any evidence. And as I mentioned before, we had these two control conditions where either both of them did not receive any evidence or both of them did receive strong evidence. And this was necessary that we could rule out it's only the subject or only the partner information that drives these effects. So this was not the case, so focus, for example, on these two conditions on the left. So here we hold subject constant and vary partner, and you can see we still find a significant difference, though they do consider the partner's evidence and the partner's belief. And when we hold partner constant, so we focus on the two conditions where the partner had strong evidence, but the subject evidence varied, we also see they seem to consider their own evidence as well. But very interestingly, I think, is when the subject has strong evidence themselves in both conditions, we see a tiny little difference that they still follow the evidence more often when the partner has strong evidence, but it's not significant. And I think that makes total sense, that if you're very certain in your own belief, you really have strong evidence. Also us, we are not really swayed by strong arguments if we are very certain in our own position. Okay, so in the second study, we tried to ask whether chimpanzees track the evidential basis for their own and the others' beliefs, and I think our results suggest that they do. They seem to integrate their own evidence and the evidence of a partner when deciding whether or not to change their belief. And what can we take from this? So I think this work extends previous work by demonstrating that chimpanzees do not only revise their beliefs rationally in non-social contexts, but also in social contexts. And it additionally confirms prior findings that chimpanzees seem to have somewhat of a sense what they themselves know and what others know. And it also extends this previous work by showing that they can integrate this information. But there are also still some open questions. So at first sight, I think it seems that these findings contrast with the work that Cajal presented yesterday, because he did not find that chimpanzees are sensitive to disagreement with others. But I think there is a clear explanation. So in Cajal's study, the chimpanzees actually the subject saw where the grapes were hidden. So I think this is strong evidence that they receive for their initial belief. And importantly, we found the sensitivity to disagreement only when the subject did not receive any evidence and did not base their belief on any prior evidence. And I guess some of you maybe already formulate this question in your head, can we then even speak of belief, or is it just a guess? And I think this is a very valid point. That is why I want to finish with a future direction. I think it would be very important to run this study and ask, do chimpanzees also revise their beliefs in social contexts in rational ways if they base their prior belief on weak evidence and a disagreeing partner gets stronger evidence than themselves. And with this, I'm finished, and thank you for your attention.